Those of you just listening in, if you go back to one of the first, this may actually, is Goblin's not here to ask, this may have been the first 3P illustration that we did. And the 3Ps was just like a thing that we came up with, which was like for illustration, it should illustrate a place, it should illustrate a party, right? Because it's a multiplayer game, and it should illustrate Peril. Give a vibe of like, it's a group of us dealing with some sketchy shit. Then he put the gnome right there sitting on the ogre's shoulder, and now we have a gnome on an ogre's shoulder, delivering on our promises, on our campaign promises. Here we have a little bit more action. 3P is a great idea. Where did that come from? It came from a discussion with Goblin where we were talking about illustrations, because he had just done a really cool illustration of the Deep Dwarf. And came out and he said like he wasn't really happy with it. He was like, I don't know, I kind of feel like it feels a little flat or something. Like his comment was something about it doesn't feel right? Like this illustration's cool. And you know, again, you see the dwarf, cleric, great illustration, and they're cool. But he's like, I'm doing these illustrations, but something doesn't feel right. And so we got into a discussion, and I put forward like, all right, if you think of, if we were illustrating a book cover, what are the things that we'd want to have in a book cover to really sell the book? And oftentimes it's a character dealing with like, oh shit, there's something here, right? Even if you can't see it, there's that sense of tension, that allusion to there being a story. What we're doing, it's high fantasy and it's dungeons killing shit and like taking their stuff. And so it's just, all right, well, establishing that sense of adventure with other people. We started talking about those key elements, and it wound up, you know, those 3 elements were critical. And then I was like, oh, well, let's maybe try that and formalize it going forward for a bit, right? It was a thing where I forget which of us was saying what about calling it the 3Ps or whatever, it doesn't matter. The end result was we had a kind of agreement to move forward for a bit with things that embodied like that 3P spirit. Naturally, depending on what's going on, it's not, you know, we don't always 100% stick to it, but like here, you'll start to see it. So right here, yeah, because this was like back when I was just like putting random shit on the cover, these old like 2021 updates and stuff, right? But then we got this one that we're just looking at, and then we've got this one with Kezi and the party coming in. Another one here, we got this sort of throne room pick, the Minotaur. This one's super cute. Got the giant staring down at the party from behind. The shot of the deep. This one, I use this one whenever I'm on like calls or whatever. It's my background. This one's a little bit different take, but assume there's people in there, and so it still counts. This one wound up establishing some fun new lore in the game. Gelatinous cube, right? These guys hiding under here from the cobalt. This one, oh, I love it so much. I can't wait for this dog to be a mount for my gnome. Underdogs. Goblins, Intellicure. I feel like the images that wind up being the strongest for us, if we look and we kind of say what's the most iconic update images, they're the ones that follow the formula, right? Like this is a great image, but is it like without the danger and stuff like that? To me, it doesn't feel as tight as like even this, right? Like the deep elf with her slaves and riding a lizard mount and overlooking the sea here. There's just something about that like action.